Oh boy, the primitive version. Why do I get the feeling this is going to be even harder? Hello YouTube, I'm Darkest101, and yes, we are reviewing these games in the order of story. What is up with the order of these games anyway? I mean, the story goes Devil May Cry 3, 1, 4, 2! The fuck kind of story order is that? I mean, at least in Resident Evil, the prequel was numbered Resident Evil 0. Why can we just call it Devil May Cry, Dante's Awakening? Whatever. Devil May Cry was, would you believe, originally meant to be a Resident Evil game. Yeah, Resident Evil 4. Before Capcom turned it into a new installment for a brand new franchise, turning one existing cast count into an entirely new species. Which would explain why the story is a little less complex than you'd think. And if you're wondering why I take such apparent glee in slamming these games, it's because I have a fucking death wish apparently. Devil May Cry. So let me just get this out of the way right now. Fucking fixed camera angles! Capcom, it works in Resident Evil because that's a survival horror game, but in a hack and slasher like this, it fucking pisses the player off. Dear God, you know how frustrating it is to be halfway through a killer combo when all of a sudden the camera changes and you have no idea where you are in relation to your enemies, and then wham! Combo over and Dante's on his ass. It is the most frustrating bullshit I've ever had to deal with in a game in my life. And then there's the mission format. Damn, I find it so annoying. It feels so disjointed and unnecessary, which makes sense seeing as how it was literally made a part of the game at the last fucking minute. Yeah, this game wasn't meant to be in this choppy, episodic mission format. It was originally meant to be more a Gauntlet God of War experience. I don't make the comparison to God of War lightly, because this is my problem with Devil May Cry. It's broken up, it's disjointed, it's episodic. In God of War, everything runs in a single Gauntlet-like fashion. Kratos goes from point A all the way to point B at the end where you fight Ares. All his achievements between that stack on top of each other, thus building up to a legend that is Kratos. In Devil May Cry, what Dante goes through is somewhat less impressive because, yes, he does do some amazing achievements from going from the beginning of the game to this defeat of Mundus, but it's broken up into this episodic mission format, which reduces the impact of how each achievement affects the game, because it's just that one mission. This is the result of one mission. They all culminate to one goal, but as a story element goes, it just feels lapse. What I do like about Devil May Cry though is the returning bosses. Boss characters will return throughout the game, like how Virgil kept reappearing in Devil May Cry 3 as a boss character. And yes, I'm also aware of how the Dark Knight, Nilo Angelo, is Virgil in this game. We'll get to that, don't worry. When it comes to other enemies, there's some serious variety in their design and weaknesses, which actually had me looking through their files in the pause menu to look up how to beat them. Not that it proved to be much help, but it was enough. The setting of the castle is, while still feeling a touch like Resident Evil, makes Dante's journey feel like the quest of a legendary knight, which I suppose is appropriate considering Dante's heritage as the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda. So anyway, Devil May Cry begins with a woman named Trish dropping from the sky down the street from Dante's office, the Devil May Cry. And they said I was crazy for believing that beautiful women just drop from the sky. Turns out all you need to be is a good-looking stud who owns a successful business. God truly gives to the needy. Dante recognizes Trish as looking similar to his mother, even going so far as to ask him to do stuff for her in the way every mother does, with frustration.
Are you really the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda? Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword? into your fucking room, it's filthy in here!
Dante, however, quickly shows Trish, who has revealed herself now as a demon, that he's not one you want to fuck around with.
Even as a child, I had powers. There's demonic blood in me.
What strength?
You were the first one to know about my vengeance. It looks like I'm getting closer.
It seems that way, but I'm not your enemy. My name is Trish. I came here to seek your help, to put an end to the underworld.
What?
20 years ago, Mundus, the Emperor of the Underworld, resurrected.
Mundus?
Yes. His powers were sealed by Sparta. He's attempting to gain control of the human world once again. He has been preparing to open the gate on Malay Island.
So Dante and Trish reach the castle where Mundus will return. Trish and Dante then split up to try and find a way to stop Mundus, with Dante solving all kinds of puzzles and defeating all kinds of enemies along the way. One of these enemies, however, is a mysterious warrior, the Nilo Angelo, a demon who, despite being one of the most powerful agents Mundus possesses, refuses to use the usual demon tactics of deceit and underhanded techniques. When Dante and Angelo fight, it usually comes down to a sword fight. After Dante's third encounter with Angelo, it is revealed, like I said earlier, that he is in fact Virgil, beaten by Mundus in the demon world after the end of Devil May Cry 3, and transformed into one of Mundus' soldiers. This is what I wanted to talk about earlier. Nilo Angelo is Dante's brother. I'm not sure where Capcom wanted to go with that plotline, but damn did they brush it under the rug. It's like they had this idea of Virgil being in this game, but they didn't know what to do with it, so they just put it in but forgot to address it almost entirely, like it was a last minute decision. If you weren't paying attention, you probably wouldn't even know the significance of anything related to Dante or Virgil. It feels rushed, hurriedly tacked on, and it doesn't really affect the whole story. What also seems a bit odd is the fact that Trish was created by Mundus, and was created to look like Dante's mother in order to gain Dante's trust. Dante therefore was brought to Mundus Castle by Mundus. Dumbest plan since Team Magma decided to boil the oceans in Pokemon Ruby. Let's think about what Mundus is doing here, shall we? He was defeated by the Dark Knight Sparta and locked away in the demon world, right? About 2 millennia later, Sparta's son drops in and tries to fight him, gets beaten, and Mundus turns him into his own. By that logic, he's perhaps a shade less powerful than Sparta, hates everything to do with his bloodline, and thus will probably have become even more powerful for that same rage during 2,000 years in prison. At what point did inviting Dante to the place he'll return seem like a good idea? What arguments could you make in Mundus' defense? Actually, you know what, let's go through all the different arguments you can make for Mundus' ridiculous plan. You could possibly say that Dante is a nuisance who'll only get in Mundus' way later on after he returns. Okay, fair enough, but by that logic, if Mundus just wants to get an apparent nuisance out of the way before he can start, why does he bother in the first place? He's only a small nuisance. If Dante's just that little insect for Mundus to squash, he's got nothing to worry about. Bringing him to the island is what hands Dante the tools to kill Mundus. Virgil's half of the amulet, Dante's mother split between the two of them, turned Dante's sword into one on par with his father's, making him even stronger, and all the demons he's encountered gave him new devil arms and guns to use. Now, you could also make the other argument that says Dante is a legitimate threat that Mundus wants to take out in order to ensure his return. But then, if Mundus is so afraid of Dante, why bring him in on this? Dante was literally unaware of anything going on that island. He had no clue as to what was going to happen. Mundus could have returned at the peak of his power and attacked Dante out of nowhere. Dante, in fact, becomes stronger on his quest to stop Mundus, so Mundus would have been better at leaving him out of the loop. No matter how you slice it, Mundus is a fucking idiot for inviting Dante to his castle. Trish tries to kill Dante under Mundus' orders, but Dante not only defeats her, but saves her from being crushed as well. Why? Because she looks like Mommy. Dante warns Trish to stay away from him, but Mundus manages to capture her as Dante finally faces off against him. Then Trish saves his life. Why? Because the power of ladyboners is stronger, apparently. Dante, enraged, turns into his father and fights Mundus on another plane of existence. When he crashes back down to Earth, he of course finds Trish still alive, and the two share a touching moment, I think? Actually, no, not a touching moment. After all, Trish was created to look like Dante's mother. Maybe turning him into his dad kind of fucked with his head. Mundus, however, returns in one last-ditch attempt to destroy Dante and return to the human realm. Dante, however, blows his face off and leaves on a biplane with Trish. The two then partner up in a newly renamed business enterprise, Devil Never Cry. Well, I guess you could say it's a fun way to kill a couple of hours. I can see how it might be fun to a dedicated fan of the series, and for what it's worth, I did have a good time playing it. But it didn't leave that strong of an impact on me. It has some big problems, both gameplay-wise and story-wise. And for what it was trying to do, yeah, it's a good game. It's got a very distinctive look to it. I can see why a lot of people really like to play it. Its target audience is very niche and specific though, and having played both Devil May Cry 3 and 1, it seems like Capcom hasn't really tried to push the market to new fans. Devil May Cry, for all its flaws, is still the first of its franchise, and it's good to see that Capcom went on with this series in such a fantastic way. But the profound lack of an impact that the first game in its franchise left on me just doesn't seem to add up right. With all that in mind, guys, I'm afraid I'm going to give Devil May Cry a dark rating of 53.
Time to go to work, guys.
Well guys, hope you don't want to kill me after hearing my review of Devil May Cry. Hope you're enjoying Double Dip December. As always, I'm at Darkest101. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted.